some of you may have wondered, okay, this all sounds great, but what does the Accelerator actually do, and what is our actual tactics and strategy to help bring investors and entrepreneurs together to create this dialogue, to increase the flow of information? And Ricardo right now will give a short presentation to actually talk about what we have done over the last 6 months, how we've selected these entrepreneurs, and the kind of program and leadership development that we've given them. And without any further ado, I'll let Ricardo take it over.
We have spent 6 years working with impact entrepreneurs, men and women who run small and growing businesses that create both financial as well as social value, where we define success both in terms of profits as well as social impact, meaning how many good jobs can we create? What kinds of products and services can we develop for the bottom of the pyramid, such as low-income housing made out of bamboo? And what are some techniques that we can use to minimize, if not eliminate, environmental impact, like the terracing system that has been used in Ostuma farms? We're focusing on sustainable growth and taking multiple stakeholders into account. The companies that we work with understand the responsibilities to their clients and to their shareholders, but more broadly to their employees, communities, and environment. Maybe most importantly, and as Ben pointed out in his speech, we are working with what we feel is a new generation of leaders in Central America and their communities. So much of successful entrepreneurs is about leadership and about bringing the right kinds of leaders to the table. In this modern day Agora that we've created, we're working with some of the best leaders that we've met, and it fills us with hope for a region that, by all accounts, is seeing rough times and will continue to see rough times if the people like the ones we have in this room cannot step up. And so the impact entrepreneurs that we work with are those that are creating positive outcomes and acting as role models for others while they grow their business. So our mission is to unleash this potential and to help create the kinds of social, economic, and environmental impact in the communities that we serve. The Accelerator program is our signature program that develops the leadership and business potential of these impact entrepreneurs and harnesses the growth opportunities that will increase their results. How do we select these entrepreneurs? We are an ideal program for companies that have revenues between $50,000 and $2 million. We're not working with the idea stage startups. We're working with people who have had a little bit more of a track record and have demonstrated both through their successes and failures of the past, as well as through the results of their current businesses, that they're led by an impact entrepreneur that has demonstrated a capacity to execute, that is seeking capital to grow, but has a very well-defined vision and a very well-identified project that investors can come into. That they're able to articulate their social impact, both with what they do today, as well as what the opportunities are to grow that impact. And they recognize that social capital and the fact that we're in an accelerator environment is just as important as financial capital, and where we feel the accelerator can add value. And so how do we select? Well, we are looking for 3 major criteria. What is the quality of the entrepreneur? What is the business case that the entrepreneur is trying to execute? And what is the potential for social and environmental impact? And so our selection process is not uncommon to other of the leading incubators and accelerators around the world. We have an open nomination process that goes through an online application, and we put entrepreneurs through what is closely linked to an initial due diligence, initial conversation in the interview stage. And then we are honored to have with us some of the most well-regarded and successful leaders from the impact investing and social entrepreneur community, as well as business leaders and investors, both from the region and internationally, who are on a global selection panel that help us make the final selections. Then we notify the entrepreneurs, and we begin the 2-stage process in parallel of trying to help build social capital as well as financial capital. We do some business training and consulting and as well as peer and alumni networking. We also have a network of mentors who have signed up to accompany the entrepreneur in phases of the development of the business, both mentoring them for personal and professional development, as well as helping them think through some of the deepest challenges in areas such as marketing and finance and logistics. Throughout all this process, we are trying to help build financial capital. And as many of you know, raising money does not mean identifying the need for money and going out and finding it. It's a process. It's a very time-consuming process where you prepare yourself as an entrepreneur and as a professional, as well as your company, to have the right kinds of information, as Ben said, to present to investors, give them the confidence that there is transparency and professionalism behind these numbers. And then we help them go out to investor networks. We help do the matchmaking and try and help them access the capital to help them grow. Over the last 6 years, we have trained over 3,500 entrepreneurs on business strategy and directly leveraged over $2 million in investments in 25 companies. We've contributed to the creation and sustainment of over 1,000 full-time jobs. And most importantly, the companies that have gone through Agora's processes have shown very specific kinds of growth. And that in great part is because of our partners. We are privileged to have one of the strongest, deepest, most impactful partnership arrangements with leading organizations around the world. For example, Avina, who joins us here today. With Pyme Capital, one of the leading impact investment funds in the world, who joins us here today. With Gears and B-Lab to help rate and compare the kinds of social and environmental impact that we see. With network of investors like Tonic, and with leading Central American organizations who are working on the ground like Yo Emprendedor, Ciudad del Saber, and Fusades, to help us build out what we've called Accelerator 1.0. And after receiving 35 nominations, it chose 9 entrepreneurs. Their total sales add up to about 2.5 million in 2010, with an average of about $250,000. And at the beginning of the inaugural class, they were searching for around $4 million. And that number has grown a little bit. But we project to try and grow the employment that the companies currently have by almost a factor of 3 over the next 3 years. We have a fantastic distribution of the kinds of industries we work in. And while there is a part of the conventional wisdom has been, especially for investing funds, to specialize in one sector, we feel that we need to catalyze the sectors where Central America can have a competitive advantage in. And the sectors like agro-industry and like low-income housing are perfect for the kinds of needs of these markets. And through our mentor network, we find the kinds of expertise that we will need to support this wide variety of industries. So I wanted to tell you 2 very quick stories that I've heard over the last 24 hours. One was from Queix de los Bosques and from Ligia that we were talking last night. And I said, look, Ligia, how good has this been? Have we really, delivered what we promised? And she said to me, look, we knew a lot about what we needed to do. But the Accelerator really provided the platform for us as entrepreneurs to make the kinds of long-term decisions we needed to set us on the long-term path for growth. She said we had a period of deep reflection and introspection. As partners, we sat down and we thought through some of the hardest issues we had ever faced as a business to really help us move forward. And this was the best opportunity we have had to match our passion for social impact with the needed strategy for accelerated and sustainable financial growth. In 2 years, Queix de los Bosques has gone from $1,800 in exports to more than $200,000 in exports. These are serious entrepreneurs with a serious capacity to execute. And where they are going, and what they've done, even just during the Accelerator process before the investor conference, is already raised over $200,000. Now here's another real case scenario. Guillermo Jacobi and Ostuma. About 2 months ago, there was a major hailstorm in the area where he has his farm, and he lost his entire crop. He not only lost the opportunity to sell during the second most important time of the year, it wiped out the profit of the whole year. He had to reduce his workforce by a third. The investment that he is here today to seek would have prevented this result. But he's a very optimistic guy, because he knows that with the investments he's going to be making, he's not only going to be able to prevent this from happening again, he's actually going to increase his productivity by a large multiple. And he told me a little while ago that just this week he started rehiring, and he's already expanding his productions to new farms. These two cases are very real, and this is what happens day to day. There is opportunities, and there are challenges. And the reason that the Accelerator, I think, has the opportunity to be so successful with all your help is so that we can help capture and multiply these opportunities and quickly attack the challenges that these companies face. We are beginning soon our next stage of the Accelerator, our Class 2. We are currently in the nomination and application process, and in late August and September, we are going to be reviewing and selecting the next round of entrepreneurs. We will put them through a very deep needs assessment and have restructured our data gathering process so we can get the right kinds of information as early as possible to direct both our to implement both our direct consulting as well as our mentor consulting. We will start building the social and financial capital during the process, putting them through an entrepreneur retreat where we start building the community, and for which next year is going to include today's 9 entrepreneurs and hopefully another 15 entrepreneurs. In the first entrepreneur retreat, we had over 10 impact investors, and here, with the capacity to web stream live, not only do we have the impact investors in the room, but the potential to bring in dozens, if not hundreds, of others to the table that can help us build this community during the retreat. And then we go through our investor conference sometime in April or May of next year, where hopefully many of these companies that you will meet today will come back, not because they need more capital to continue to grow. To date, we've had many hours of one-on-one consulting, as well as seminars like on social media and corporate governance and key performance indicator setting from KPMG. We've had ongoing legal advice from one of the region's top legal firms. And we had a 2-day intensive entrepreneur retreat that has included an investor panel, the due diligence training, a motivational coaching seminar by our coach, Jose Bolaños. We had a pitch session where we started practicing the pitches and networking with mentors and potential investors. But I cannot tell you the importance of the peer support and feedback. The community that was created, the trust that was built amongst the entrepreneurs, the help that they were giving each other was like something I had not experienced before, because they all shared a common passion to use their companies as a force for social good. But we've also gone through a very intense process of trying to help them build what we call financial capital. We've had a very comprehensive review of financial systems and statements, selected advising and deal structuring from expert investors and mentors. We've developed 2-page teasers and pitch decks with the best practices in the industry so impact investors can make quick and informed decisions. We've had lots of practice as well as targeted matchmaking to bring the most relevant investors to the most relevant entrepreneurs. And while there's still much more to do, these entrepreneurs have demonstrated the commitment to meet those challenges ahead. So what about for the impact investors? As Ben said, we've been impact investors ourselves. So we understand the needs of what many impact investors have because we've been here before. But our commitment is to work as closely as possible with impact investors from around the world to really understand their specific needs and criteria. We've invested in each one of these companies with our own social capital. We've invested months and months of work, hundreds and hundreds of hours in preparing these entrepreneurs to go into the capital raising process. And as all of you know, raising capital again, is not only about preparing your financial statements. It's about going through the kinds of deep reflections as entrepreneurs like the ones that Kiech de los Bosques and other companies in the network have gone through. There's been very deep involvement on strategy, on getting to know the management team and their capacity to execute, and on building partnerships, both with technical assistance and grant providers, as well as the kinds of commercial linkages that these entrepreneurs will need to grow. We're bringing to impact investors a very strong deal flow with advanced reviews of financial, legal, and operational aspects, which means we intend to lower the cost of search and selection. But the entrepreneurs, many of which have never gone through a capital raising process, have also gotten a very deep understanding on issues such as valuations, the potential deal terms, what exits look like and what they mean for both the entrepreneur and the investor, and what investors expect from these investments. We've brought together a network of investors, which we feel is a huge value add for the people who actually realize the investment. Because here we're trying to do co-investing. We're looking at a variety of capital structures, debt, equity, quasi-equity, and we're also bringing different stages of capital to the table to try and facilitate potential exits. We are committed to facilitating the deal closing and all the complex legal issues of investing throughout the region, which we hope will lower transaction costs. And we are willing to offer any investor the monitoring and other services after deals are closed that could include monitoring the milestones, quarterly reports, and board positions. So what's the purpose of being here today? The Agora Impact Investor Conference is designed to build relationships between impact investors and entrepreneurs. We want to jumpstart connections between everybody here and continue to build peer support and sharing our experience. But also, how can we as a community enable Agora partnerships to facilitate the creation of a more modern day Agora? And for that, we need your continual input. Essentially, what we want is to put investors and entrepreneurs on the path to closing some deals. We really enjoyed the conference, and again, I thank you all for joining us. This, for me, is a particularly sweet moment to see after 6 years of what we built, that we are here in Nicaragua, and that together we're going to be able to make a dent in the universe. So thank you all very much.